Hello friends, hello audience. I know you miss me, so I got a couple of points to make. One is Trump said that there will be bloodbaths if he's not elected. And sure enough, I reviewed the speech or the statement, and it appears to have something to do with car manufacturing and. But you know, I have a problem with what he said. Now, English is not my mother tongue, let's put it this way. My mother tongue is Arabic, but I know enough English to be dangerous. So he said will, you know, there will be, right? There will be bloodbath, he said, right? And what does that mean? That tells me there is not a bloodbath now, but will be after the election if he's not elected, right? So I'm gonna be a little bit inquisitive and read between the lines, if you will. So when he says there will be, that means there's not one now. And if he says there will be, so that amounts or constitutes a threat, if you will. A threat of a civil war, right? A threat of a bloodbath, but it could also be economic. So the Trump machine and the Putin machine, that humongous machine of Trump, of Ayatollah, of Hezbollah, of Netanyahu, of Jinx Pink, of China, right? They could actually start trying to, or they will try to mount an attack on the United States, mount an expedition, economical expedition, onslaught, start an onslaught against the United States, right? If Joe B is stayed in the White House, which is looking like it now. So that's a threat because it's a future thing, right? It's not now. So if he's not elected, then the economic downturn will happen, right? Or there will be a real bloodbath. Similar to what happened on January 6th, only on a larger magnitude, larger scale, widespread, and so on. And I did actually put a video out for you guys saying there will be blood because Putin will not concede the election. So to me, it sounds like a bloodbath, really. Now, he said that he talked about the 1 year and 8 years, right? 1 year? What is the 1 year? That if you couldn't fix it or so and so in 1 year, you couldn't fix it in 8 years. Well, he was there for 4 years. How couldn't he fix it in 4 years? How couldn't he? He was unable to fix anything in 4 years. Now we are talking about his 4 years. If it's economics, then we know what happened. Each and every one of you, by now, whoever you are, all walks of life, all type of people, all, you know, wherever you are and so on, you all were subject to something called pandemic. Pandemic, remember? The economics of Trump's first term were disaster, were a calamity on the world, not just United States. People started losing their job, and some of them who stayed on the job became remote, and real estate suffered, and everything started to collapse on his term. Those 4 years, up until 2020, or until Joe came into office, were disastrous. And now each and every one of you know what this COVID-19 pandemic is. Now we all know, right? Now we all know the realities and facts of this particular pandemic. So now he's bragging about economic downturn or economic bloodbath, say, for the next 4 years, right, of presidency. What happened to us or to the world or to the United States or to Western Europe or anywhere, right? And under your leadership in that term that you served in the White House. Everybody knows. Everybody knows and everybody suffered out of that economic downturn and that pandemic that really emptied people's savings and well, we all know what happened, right? So he can't come here and sell us about economic downturn and so on, or bloodbath economic manufacturing. China was manufacturing, or whoever it is, were manufacturing cars in Mexico way before Joe Biden. This is nothing new. right? You know that they were manufacturing. Well, you know what? Maybe you don't know. Even though you were in the White House for 4 years, maybe that didn't mean much to you, right? Trump, if you didn't know they were manufacturing in Mexico 4 years, during the 4 years in the White House, your tenure in the White House, really? Now, only now you know, or threatening? Well, because I am just your typical American citizen. I know they manufacture cars in Mexico. Here's a piece of information for you that is very well known. Maybe you don't know it. All those German buggies, you know, those VW buggies, they were all manufactured in, if not all, there is a whole assembly line in Mexico. So if you saw one here on the roads in the United States, that's manufactured in Mexico. Besides, what's wrong with Mexico, man? You know, I looked, and ever since I came to this country in 1981, right? 1181. I know if it wasn't for those Mexicans, legal or illegal, this country would not move forward. Why? Because they're carrying and supporting the underlying infrastructure and industry. The jobs that your typical white American or even black American will not do. And they make very little money, those Mexicans, or South Americans and Central Americans for that matter. They make very little money. But for them, it's better than what they have back home. Dictatorship and, you know, the Putin-style governments and the Castro and whatnot, you name it, right? And the Pinochet and now you got the Lula and the Bolsonaro and Jair or Yair. Yair Bolsonaro of Brazil, and now Lula is like, I think it's the little poodle, you call them Lula and stuff like that. and Mexico and whatnot, right? That's his name, Yair. Anyways, if you want to know what that is, ask your Arab translators. They will tell you what that means. But it's a name, you know. Even Netanyahu has a son called Yair. So anyways, to sum it up all, he really means it's a civil war. From what he's been saying so far, he's been spilling the beans, right? He's been spilling the beans one at a time. There's so much pressure built inside this particular person, this particular creature, that between now and then, if he opens up a little bit, even a pinprick, you'd see fire coming out, right? Something is wrong with that personality, folks. What is he and what does he do and what is he wanting to do? We know what is he want, what is he after, what he is hoping to achieve, right? His mandate by Putin and Ayatollahs and so on and so forth, right? But the intensity of it is something we do not know. But between now and then it shows, right? You know, shoots of flame come out of his mouth and so on. So that's that, folks. In my opinion, Joby and whoever you are, prepare for that civil war. And when that civil war happens, I hope not, you know, but that's what I'm seeing so far from what I've been hearing and observing and surmising and deducing, and I've been seeing civil war looming on the horizon in the United States. Putin will not, you have no idea, if Putin cannot put Trump back into the White House now, that whole Cold War will have collapsed. So Joby, you won in Taiwan, you put an end to that war with China, and you won it. It's now time for all those who support the United States and think of the United States as their country, as their home, and so on, as their future and the posterity and the home for their posterity and children and grandchildren and so on. Right now, the Cold War has arrived on its goal. The Cold War is in your government buildings, and right now is the time to actually win that Cold War once and for all. The Cold War never stopped, really. It's raging ever since. Sometimes I wonder the failure in Afghanistan, right? I think it's real, you know, the collapse of the Soviet Union due to their involvement in Afghanistan. Sorry, I'm fasting, so it's Ramadan time, right? Sometimes it hit me as it's being a step toward, because they were failing, right? As a communist state, they're not winning the Cold War and so on. So they wanted to collapse and transition into a quasi-democratic government so as to continue the Cold War on a different footing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Right, Joey? You probably see that as well. So I think the Cold War is a highly likely scenario now. And it could be also it could be by design or a plan or a plot. What do I mean by that? I mean there is a problem. You know, the pandemic did not correct that problem and that financial problem due to the theft of trillions and so many trillions throughout the past few decades, right? At least I don't know, 7 decades or so. I mean, the theft of government and people and the financial system, burden on the financial system. Now it's about to crack, and as you know, there are problems with banks. They just bailed out a bank in Washington or somewhere in New York or something of the sort, and there are issues with banks like Citibank, like other banks, Silicon Valley Bank, and so on. So that is beginning to crack, and you can see there's an economical problem. I think they wanted to resolve it by way of pandemic, where they put people in their houses. They wanted to take their savings, right? And they, of course, while that happened, they couldn't quit their habit, you know, of stealing trillions. They increased the theft of trillions, right? So maybe if there is a civil war, people will go back bankrupt and so on, and they will have skipped over it. But here's something for you, folks. A civil war means bank closures, means a lot of things. So you better get ready for that day. If a civil war breaks out and it's a bloodbath, it will probably be a bloodbath, right? But it will be something else as well. There will be some kind of breakdown in social order, in social supply chains and so on, and hunger will set in. And I did actually say something about that in one of my previous videos, that if there's a breakdown in federal government, that if it collapses or removed or anything else, and Trump and his machine, Putin and his machine, is sounding like they want that to happen. Blacks will die. Black folks, African Americans will die in mass, M-A-S-S-E, right? Why? Because many of them, they were made to live off the government, right? You just walk into their neighborhoods and drive through, and it's appalling, folks, how these people live for 400 years now, or 300 years, right? It's just mind-boggling. Some people, like Black Lives Matter and whatnot, they give them a couple of dollars and they keep them poor. Why? Because they want their votes. They hurt them like cattle, right? And or like whatever, pack of wild dogs or so on. They just take their votes and so on, but they keep them down at the same time. Black Lives Matter and Rainbow Coalition and Nation of Islam and so on. Oh, these are all weirdos. These are all sickos. They are after the destruction of the black community, and to use it as a tool to undermine and subvert the U.S. government, right? So that's that. So get ready, folks. It may not sound real to you, but I see from what I've learned so far, from what I've seen so far, from what I've heard, my observation and keen observation and so on, civil war is around the corner. And if it happens, it's going to be a calamity. It's going to be a disaster, a tragedy for a large section of the people in the United States. That's what I'm saying. That's what he means, because if you look at him, if you listen keenly, and like I said, I'm not an English professor here, but he's talking future. If you're so keen on showing the economical failure, why are you talking in the future, right? In future tense. Why not say Biden has failed now, right? He's not saying that. He's talking future. Two, it's also relevant to what he stated earlier, like the one-day dictatorship, the one-day dictatorship and nullification or suspension of the constitution and things of the sort, right? So these together, put together, it's very obvious, folks. You government officials, you whoever you are, if you really care about your country, you know, you stand up now. There are those people who think, you know, communism, who think Brave New World, who think that superior, supposedly superb ideas and ideology and so on, right? They can't have it more wrong, folks. Those people or those creatures of the Putin machine, right, the Ayatollahs and so on, they're hell-bent and they're willing to burn the world to achieve a new world they're thinking about. What is this new world? It is utopia and dystopia. Utopia is that this 10% of Putin, of Trump, of Ayatollah, of Xi Jinx Pink, right? Of Castro's, of whoever they are, right? And Ataturk, you know, or Erdogan and Assad and you know, and MBS and so on. They want to establish this very private, they have a private life, private community, private class of humanity, right? And they own everything else. And there is the 90%, that's you and I out on the street, right? They are going to return them to the life of animalism, animal farm. You don't believe it? That's what it is. And there's a precedence to that. I'll give you an example. In Albania, there was a despotic dictator called Anwar al-Khuja, right? Anwar al-Khuja. Sometimes I think he's my relative, right? But the relative that I don't want to be relative with, I don't want to be related to, right? Anwar al-Khuja, they call him Anwar Khuja, right? Go ahead and research him. He was the first dictator in Albania, right? He was supposedly a communist, but not communist. He's one of those weird things like the Ayatollahs, like the Lenin and Stalin and the Netanyahu and the Mao Zedong and the Castro and so on, right? And they established a very small, it was like a republic of fear, I call it. Albania was under his rule for, I don't know, for decades and so on. And there was private areas. Nobody can enter but he and his henchmen and his kinfolk, right? They owned everything and everybody else lived like animals. From the moment he took over until I think he expired and went downhill, right? Tumbled down into hell. I think there was like only 14,000 cars in the country and that was that. People were living in total fear. And history has like, those who are writing history now, they erased his his bad deeds, his evil work, his history, his biography of horror and so on, right? They don't tell you he killed so many people. I think he's a Bektash, supposedly, which is a form of Judaism, right, on steroid. Bektash, like a form of Jew. They consider themselves Jews, right? But it's like on steroid, who don't believe in God or anybody else. And it's something really weird, folks. And it's next to you in Cuba. If you look at Cuba, for 60 years, you got this 10% that living the life of heavens on earth, and everybody else live like dogs, right? If you white people think that's what Trump is going to bring you, like he's going to bring you like this utopia, no, folks. He has a utopia for Putin, for Ayatollah, for Castro, for whoever it is. And for you who brought him into power, it's dystopia, right? You're going to live like animals. It's animal farm, right? And notice, every time a dictator takes over, the first elements and the first ranks to be purged, right, are those who brought him into power. And they are killed in mass. So, there you have it, folks. You either wake up now and make sure that this Trump doesn't come back or Putin doesn't come back into the White House. Like I said, United States is not the best example. It has been destroyed for a long time, and there's sometimes wastefulness, you know, in it, you know, there's like overabundance and wastefulness and a lot of trash, a lot of plastic and consumption, and so it's not like the best example, but what's coming is far worse, is what I am telling you now. So now let me go back and say maybe this civil war is per agreement, per design, so as to really remove all these economic woes that has hit the financial system of the world and so on, right? Maybe it's by design. I don't know. Maybe it's by design. Now, speaking to you know, those who are some vehement supporters of Trump or Putin for that matter, you guys are held responsible. They haven't said much about it yet. Putin hasn't said much about it, but he is holding you responsible for voting Biden into the White House and voting Trump out of the White House. They're not talking much about it. Why? Because they need your support, right? But if he gets back, and if Putin gets back into the White House, oh, he's gonna get you. I don't know about you guys. I'll remind you with someone. Do you remember Lindsey Graham after that invasion of the Capitol by those rabble, you know, and the shamans and, you know, horned beasts and so on? Right? Right. What did he say? He says, and I quote, "I'm done with Trump," right? He was done with Trump. Now my question to you, Lindsey Graham, what changed your mind back, right? Did Putin call you or send you some kind of a message that he's gonna publish some videotapes on you, or whatever it is, numbers, or money, or whatever it is, or links, or whatever it is, right? That you scared to hell, and now you're back into the cage, supporting, running for Putin back into the White House? What changed your mind? You said that, didn't you? I'm done with Trump, right? Huh. I tell you what, Lindsey Graham, I think McConnell is the same. You guys are afraid of something really bad. But if there is a time to break free, this is it. Now is the time to break free for you or anybody else. And you had a leader, a couple of leaders, who already stated, and they're on the record, making statements, and these are Pence and Romney. They said they will not endorse Trump. Don't be afraid, Lindsey Graham. Just because of something personal, you're destroying your nation and allowing something from some creature from hell to come in here and change this country into an animal farm. Come on, think about it. If there's a time for you to break free, it is now. Don't worry, nobody is going to harm you. Putin is not going to do much about it. If enough number of you renege and then jump ship or turn on Putin, there's not much he can do. Now is the time. Now is the time. All right, so I made that point, and like I said, you know, you see it in the Middle East, you saw it in Iran, you saw it in Iraq, you saw it in Syria, you saw it in Yemen, you saw it in Afghanistan, you saw it in the Caucasus, in Chechnya, you saw it in Somalia, you're seeing it in Sudan now, you saw it in Central African Republic, and right? So what are you waiting on now? Huh? Are you going to be complicit with Putin while he comes here and destroy your country? Right? So like I said, there are many possibilities. This civil war, I think this is very highly likely now. So you average Joe, including me, you better be ready for that day. And you will be wise not to allow it to happen. One thing for Joby, like I said, do you remember? I remember when the post office master and started giving you problems about ballots, and they were going to remove mailboxes and so on because they wanted Trump to win. Do you remember that, Joby? I think they're probably playing that game on you. I kid you not, Joby. I put that check, and I have a picture of the envelope. When I went to the post office, which is here in Westmont, down on Cass Avenue, just right down there by my house, right? And then when I gave it to the mail woman or clerk, right? An African American woman, I asked her to stamp it. So she stamped it, and I said, let me take a photo of it, right? So I took a photo of it. I have that photo. But then she looked at it and inspected the address, and I could see her reaction was not exactly normal. So I think instead, I think you ought to really investigate that, Joby. they're manipulating the mail that's coming your way or to your campaign. That's all I'm saying. Now there's plenty of time. I will make sure, but you ought to make sure that the post office, U.S. Postal Service is not manipulating the mail that's coming to your campaign. I think you ought to inspect that as well. What else to do? Nothing really to say. There are quite a few things I could talk about, of course, but you Americans, if you think communism is something utopia, that's something you can't live there. It's sometimes you see it and it's like a movie, folks. When did you go to a movie that was so dysfunctional, that was so disturbing, that was so and abnormal, that was so troubling that you hated it and you just left cursing? It's like a movie, folks. Movies are not real. That's what communism is. That's what's coming from the East. They illustrate life to you under their rule as something of practical, pragmatic, utilitarian, beautiful, or like in the Nebuchadnezzar, you eat a bowl of snot and runny eggs, and it has all the amino acids and one cell and proteins and whatnot, right? Now you may think this is a beautiful life. They illustrate that to you as a beautiful life, right? But it's not, right? I mean, watch my commentary on that movie, The Matrix. That's them, folks. That's the Matrix. That's Morpheus. Morpheus is Ayatollah. Morpheus is Putin. Morpheus is Trump. Morpheus is Castro. These are the Morpheuses, folks. And to live in there, it's a matter of life and death, and eventually they will terminate you. You better watch it, and I'm not finished with that yet. I took it to the next level. There's horror in that, folks, of that concept. So if you living the dream of the Matrix, right, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what's coming your way. So take that into consideration. And if those of you who know what's going on, like the Graham, like the McConnell, like whoever it is, and I know McConnell just resigned. I think when he froze a couple of times, if you remember, I don't know, I think maybe he was trying to send a message to Americans, like, he froze, like he was trying to say something, but he was too frightened, he was too afraid to say anything, right? What are you guys waiting on? If they're right now, make a jailbreak, right? Right now is the time for you to make a jailbreak. Whoever you are, in the Congress, in the Senate, wherever you are, right now it's time to make a jailbreak and stop that wave from moving west. Cold War is not over, folks. It's raging, and they made it as far as to become your president. But guess what? You're not gonna get that chance of kicking them out. If they're in now, if Putin is into your White House now, that's it, folks. Say goodbye to the United States. But it's not just say goodbye to the United States. It's what's gonna come after. Trust me, folks, whoever you are, if Putin has something on you, right now is the time to break free. And don't worry, he will not do much. If you try to do anything afterwards, it's too late. Right now, stand up and say, I'm not going to endorse Trump. Stand up with Pence, stand up with Romney and others as well, right? They're not the only two. Right now is the time to make it clear and break free. Make a jailbreak. It is now time, now, not tomorrow, not yesterday. Was supposed to be yesterday, but not tomorrow. Now is the time. Otherwise, believe me, this civil war, whoever you are, will not survive that civil war. And they're not saying much because they need you, right? You're under control. You, Graham, you, whoever you are. But when time comes, trust me, after Trump is back, if right now, for me, here it's 99% the guy is waste, right? And that's what I'm saying. He's going to do away with you. Just like Rabbi Stalin did Rabbi Trotsky and other rabbis as well. You don't believe me? Now is the time to break free. Now is the time. Now, not tomorrow. Have a nice day, my friends. Whoever you are, no matter if you hate me or you like me, I don't care about how you feel toward me, but what I'm saying is the truth, and what I'm saying is for your future. Believe me, I am the least likely expected prophet, right? Who comes from the Middle East, and I'm giving you this warning. I'm warning you, folks. What's coming from the east, that Putin and company, that Putin and his world is something from hell, folks. You don't want them here. Have a nice day. Take care. And if Joe Biden stays in the next 4 years, right, their chances of coming back again will greatly diminish. Now, I want to make another point. Some of you, like I said, Putin is trying to confirm the fears of World War III. Why? Because Trump is backing that, and then now Putin wants to support him, shore up the argument, right, of World War III, right? So now you're afraid of World War III. I tell you what, folks, you concede anything to Putin, World War III will be higher likely. It will have a higher chance of happening than if you fight Putin. If you allow Putin to take Ukraine or negotiate or stay in Ukraine, that is closer to World War III. Putin will not fight with nuclear weapons, right? Now, there is no capacity left in Russia to fight conventional war. Not even in Ukraine, let alone NATO, right? Or anybody else, right? But what I'm saying is, it's very simple, folks. You allow him to take over Ukraine, what's next? He's going to invade the NATO territory. There is your World War III. You understand what I'm saying? The equation is very simple, folks. It's not a third degree integral or differential or whatever it is. It's 1 + 1 = 2. He takes Ukraine, he's going to step into NATO next, right? You embolden him. And that's World War III. To evict him from Ukraine and to secure Ukraine victory and to help Ukraine, right? That's preventing World War III from happening because he knows he cannot fight anymore, right? Now, that's what I'm saying. Now, I'm going to talk to Joby and others. And Germany and whoever it is. I have I used to watch this Pond Man or something like that. I forgot his name, He used to go like in the ponds and catch turtles and fishes and here and there. Fish. I forgot his name. I forgot the show name. But then one of his friends, right, it's a reality show, said, give a man a fish, right, a fish, he'll eat for 1 day. Teach a man fishing, he will eat alive for a lifetime. That's an American saying. I don't know if it's American or come from somewhere else, but that's where I heard it first. If you really, whoever you are, want Ukraine to win, or defend itself, or defend Europe, teach them how to manufacture advanced weapons, at least the weapons that are necessary to prevent Russia from coming in or staying in Ukraine. Why can't they manufacture something like Javelin, or Stinger, or something else, or, now it's, right now, I don't know, maybe they can't manufacture airplanes, but at least you can make sure they can manufacture something very, very advanced, right? And that will allow them to be independent. So in case there's any blockade, they won't need anyone, right? How about Patriot? Now I'm going to remind you, Ukrainians, you can play on this tune as well. You can play this tune as well. United States helped India manufacture something similar to the Patriot. I'm not mistaken about that. And so on and so forth. So why can't Germany and the United States and England and France, right? Those at least the countries, or even Sweden, why can't you teach the Ukrainian engineers and give them plans and plots and schematics and so on, and chemical formulas and so on to manufacture their own, What do you think of that? What do you think of that, right? At least now you would guarantee Ukraine is defending the whole world. At least they are capable of defending the whole world. Believe me, folks, if Putin, and I told you before, I made this prophecy, he will not go take Ukraine. If he comes into Ukraine, World War III is around the corner. That's it, because he's going to step into NATO territory. You may say he made statement, he and his that Doc Kennel, he and his others made statements toward respecting the sovereignty of other NATO states and so on. He's a liar. He always lied. He lied about Ukraine. He lied about everything. The guy just basically lies, right? They're living off lies. That's what it is. They don't care if you know or you don't know whether he's lying or not. Have a nice day. And I really hope that makes sense. Trump was talking future. If there's a problem, economic problems now, he would say they are here now, not in the future. There will be. He said there will be. He said it's a bloodbath now, and so on. Look at it again. Joby, check things out. Have a nice day. Bye now.